if you read this gentleman's follow-up comment, he's not coming from it from a right-wing position. He's not coming from it from an argumentative position. He's legitimately asking, how do we fund these things? So he says, honest question, where does the funding come from for free college and free healthcare? Well, first things first, nothing is ever free. It has to be paid for in some way, shape, or form. What we are sick of here in the United States of America is that our tax dollars don't get used to service the general population the way they do in other industrialized nations. In many other nations, your tax dollars go to service you, for the most part. Not to fill some void somewhere, not for some pet project or anything like that. So you're paying for your own healthcare, you're paying for your own college, you're just doing so through your tax dollars. Just like you are currently paying for your own healthcare, but you're doing so through an insurance plan with thousands of other people that have also paid into that insurance plan, which is what allows you to get your healthcare for the cost that you can get it for. It's a pooled collective. So let's deal with healthcare first. So how do we pay for it? The same way they pay for it in the UK. In the UK, we have a successful model that shows that you pay. So here, grab a piece of paper and a pen. Pause this video, grab a piece of paper and a pen. We're going to do a little exercise here. Are you back? Okay. On one side of the paper, I want you to write down all of the following deductions from your paycheck. How much they take out of your paycheck for the entire year in Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. How much you pay for the entire year, your 12 months worth of your insurance premiums to have your insurance. In addition to that, write down in that column everything you pay over the course of a year out of pocket for your medical care. Your co-payments for your doctor's visits, your specialist visits, your ambulance, your ER, anything you have to do, all your prescription drugs. Add all of that up on the left side. And on the right side, put down what 10% of your gross pay is. Before anything comes out, 10%. Which side is larger? Which side is smaller? For most people, the 10% is going to be the smaller side. You take 10% of your pay, your gross pay, and you eliminate your Medicare, your Medicaid, your Social Security, your insurance premiums, my apologies, your out-of-pocket costs for all your medical care, because that 10% in the UK covers that. They take 10% of yours, and your employer pays 11% of your salary, and the government kicks in the rest. And you're covered for anything you need done. You pay, I think it's $10 per prescription, equivalent to our money. And you got to pay for parking if you're at the hospital. And it gives you, the reason why you do away with your Social Security deduction is because in the UK, that also gets you a national pension. Everybody, across the board. That's how you pay for the healthcare. For the college, like this. Free college, how do you pay for it? Advocates for free public colleges and universities face a problem. Who is going to pay for it? The cost of providing free college at public institutions in the U.S. is estimated at around $680 billion a year, or about 1% of last year's $6.82 trillion in federal spending. That's compared to $782 billion spent on defense and $829 billion spent on Medicare. It's a large number, and one that observers say will be difficult to find political support for. Brian Powell, a professor of sociology at Indiana University, previously told Changing America that although public opinion on loan forgiveness varies, his research shows strong support for free tuition. If we think about the future, if we think about providing opportunities for more Americans to go to college, one of the first steps would be making it affordable and free tuition at the public level, said Powell, who authored Who Should Pay? Higher Education, Responsibility, and the Public, alongside Natasha Quadlin, an assistant professor of sociology at the University of California at Los Angeles. A 2019 survey conducted by the authors and published in their book found that 71% agreed with the statement tuition at public colleges and universities should be free for anyone who is qualified to attend. California, New Mexico, and New York are among the states that currently offer free college tuition programs to eligible residents. These efforts, experts say, could be expanded through strategic partnerships with the federal government, potentially giving more Americans a chance at free college, at least in states that participate. Some experts believe that by partnering with the states, federal agencies could establish targeted grants that could only be used to fund tuition, eliminating the need to create entirely new mechanisms to fund free college. Higher education funding has historically been handled by individual states that are beholden to an annual budget. An analysis by the Urban Institute found that in 2019, states collectively spent $311 billion on higher education, about 9% of general spending. Typically, the federal government only offers help in paying for higher education to students directly in the form of financial aid packages, including the Pell Grant and student loan options. Some experts believe there's room for the federal government to play a bigger role in higher education, especially as the student debt crisis has ballooned in the past decade and resulted in $1.7 trillion in outstanding debt owed to the federal government. One of the reasons that the federal government is an important partner in these things is that federal government can spend more than it takes in taxes. Most states have to run a balanced budget, said Kevin Miller, Associate Director for Higher Education at the Bipartisan Policy Center. Miller also noted that states are more restricted with how much money they can allot to higher education affordability before having to turn to increasing taxes. One idea popular among experts is developing block grants that would supplement states' higher education budgets and would be tailored to address tuition fees. This could ensure states focus their education budgets on affordability. We think that a flexible grant program that allows states to sort of support their existing affordable programs, the scholarship programs or college promise programs, makes a lot of sense, and that we could support the mechanisms that are already there rather than building an entirely new mechanism, Miller added. Another more immediate option, expand the Pell Grant. The Education Department issues Pell Grants to eligible low-income students, and in most cases, the funds do not need to be repaid. In the 2019-2020 academic year, about 34% of students received one. President Biden did manage to increase the maximum award amount by $400 in his latest $1.5 trillion omnibus funding package. Currently, eligible students can receive a maximum of $6,895 in Pell Grants per academic year. However, the average in-state tuition attending in-state student attending a public four-year institution spends about $25,000 per academic year on tuition, housing, and other expenses, according to Education Data Initiative. Believe me, I know. I have one that's going into her sophomore year at UIC next month. That cost more than doubles for students attending private universities who pay close to $53,000 per academic year on those same expenses. These increases have occurred alongside soaring high cost of living expenses. And don't I know that? My daughter also got into the Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, and the cost per year for her was $58,000. That is fucking insane. Especially for low-income students, it's important to look at making sure their financial aid is covering all their actual costs, Miller continued. If you want low-income students to be able to attend college, either zero cost or debt-free, or however you define that kind of expense sensibilities, you need to make sure that their financial aid is meeting all those needs. Moving forward with a free college plan means Congress would need to make big structural changes to its existing education policy, and Iris Palmer, Deputy Director for Community Colleges with the Education Policy Program at New America, told Changing America there's just not a political coalition that's willing to put the money in that at the expense of some other things like climate change mitigation, early childhood education, childcare. We have a lot of problems in this country, and if you're going to spend a ton of money and totally change the way we fund higher education, it needs to be behind some of those other really, really pressing priorities, Palmer added. So the federal government could partner with states that are already doing this and help fill the gaps for students in those states by making sure that the little bit that they do have to pay out of pocket after they get the state funding that they need could be met by expanding Pell Grants and giving out further federal assistance to those students. Now, what I'm talking about and what Kamala Harris has been proposed in the past is making community colleges free. Not just, not like where my daughter's going to UIC. That wouldn't be the case. But at least after high school, you could go on and earn an associate's degree, get 2 years of college education. And if we did it right, we should also be funding trade schools for 2 years after high school at the same time so that we can have the white-collar workers that we need and the blue-collar workers that we need. And if we do Medicare for all of them are covered and none of them go broke because they got sick.